Hello everybody, David Kennedy, Canopy Realtor Association and MLS president, here with another ordinary realtor who did some extraordinary things. Hi!
Hello, David, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, Mike Rash, president in 1999, right?
2001, 20 years ago this
All
year.
right, oh my, 20 years. Okay, what was real estate like when you got in the business back in? How long have you been in the business?
I've been
What was
in
it
the
like?
business for 41 years.
Wow, what was it like when you first got in?
Well, rates were climbing. They went up to like 16, 17%. And I remember saying, if we can just get rates down to 13%, we can sell some houses. And I started my real estate career, although I'm a native of Charlotte, I started my real estate career in Raleigh in 1979, at the end of 79. And it was unbelievable. All the guys, all the old timers, which were like 8 or 9 people, companies were very small at that time, but we had 8 or 9 people that were back in the conference room playing backgammon because they didn't think they could sell anything. And of course, if you don't think you can sell anything, you can't, because you won't try. But I didn't know any better, so I didn't, I had to make a living. So I got out there and hustled, and it turned out all right. I've been in it, as I said, for a few years.
So the Mike Rash back then, would he have believed that interest rates are 3% right now?
No way. No, absolutely no way. I mean, that is that's unbelievable to me today. I mean, it's just compared to, well, I'll give you an example. I remember VA in 1980, 81, 16.5% with 11 discount points.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
They didn't want to make any loans, I don't think, but it was still VA.
So did you started in Raleigh? When did you come to Charlotte?
Well, I came to Charlotte in 1991.
Okay.
But I came via Lakeland, Florida. I transferred from the Raleigh area. As a matter of fact, in 1985, I moved into the management side of the business and opened the Cary, North Carolina office up for, we were Merrill Lynch at the time.
Okay.
And so opened that office up, got it going, growing and everything. And so I had an opportunity to transfer with Merrill Lynch down to Lakeland, Florida. And my wife and I didn't have any kids, so we said, why not Florida? And so we took the transfer, moved down there. The only thing, and we loved it. I mean, it was the second most profitable office in the state of Florida out of 62 offices, 62 branches. So it wasn't a matter of not liking it, but the Carolinas called me home. The main reason was we were away from the 4 seasons, which Florida has 2 seasons, hot and hotter.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I had an opportunity to come back to Charlotte. My wife is from Shelby, and of course I'm a native of Charlotte. And Muriel Helms was the president of the Charlotte region at the time. So I came back and managed the South Park office. They were closing the Monroe Road office and merging it in with South Park. And so it was a good time. Muriel thought to make some changes, and I was the beneficiary of those changes and came back.
Well, now I know why every time Joe Rimpson says Lila Rash, he smiles, because she's from Shelby and he's from Shelby, and just people from Shelby.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So you're here in Charlotte now, and what kind of gravitates you, what attracts you to get involved with leadership here and service to the Realtor Association?
Well, I guess it was my first first boss, the owner of the company that I went to work for when I first got in real estate. His name was Zach Bacon. And he was a believer in getting involved in the community. As a matter of fact, he was the past president of a past president of the North Carolina Association of Realtors at one time. But he's basically, when I came to work with him, the first thing that he said is, get involved in the community and try to make a difference. And at the time, it was United Way. He says, give something to United Way. I don't care what it is, and but make sure you support United Way. And that was in 1979. And but what really impressed me about Zach was before we talked about sales and background and all that, it was community first with him. And I subscribe to that.
So when did someone call you or tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I think you'd be I think you need to run for president of the Realtor Association?
Well, it was, it started, as far as somebody tapping me on the shoulder and asking me to run for president, it was probably after I'd already served on Professional Standards Committee. I chaired that. And then I was treasurer and of the association. And then after that came the tap. So, gosh, I think it was, I can't remember his, he's no longer with us, but I can't even remember who it was that approached me. A couple people did. I said no initially because it was, the time commitment. Right. But anyway, I did it.
So you were treasurer, then you moved into the role of president-elect. And then, so how long were you president before the CEO resigned of the Charlotte Realtor Association?
Well, when I became president, I said, well, this was in December before the January the year started. And I said, this should be a fairly easy year. We've got Tim Minton in place, and he's done a good job. And to answer your question, 2 days.
2 days.
On January the 3rd, Tim called me and said, Mike, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, okay, great. I thought maybe it was just like an orientation. He wanted to go over some things with the the executive officer and the new president do. So I said, okay, great, I'll meet you. And so came in and he said, Mike, I'm resigning. I want to give you my 2-week notice. I said, well, okay. I said, well, I've really enjoyed working with you for these 3 hours. True story.
Yeah.
I mean, what else could I say?
Yeah.
So
at that point, you have an unexpected task in front of you.
Oh yeah.
So what was your next move? What did you do next?
Well, the first thing I did was I notified the board, right. And after I collected my thoughts, and we knew that we had a strong person in place that was a member of the association through Ribbit, and that was Anne Marie Howard. And so through due diligence and at a fairly accelerated pace, I might add, I recommended Anne Marie, and I got the board's approval, and it was done. It was a done deal, and it happened fairly quickly.
So when we're sitting here, so a leader like myself in 2021,
right.
we see how great Anne Marie Howard now,
Yeah.
Anne Marie DeCatsi is.
Yes.
We have Mike Rash to thank for getting her plugged in.
Well, you better ask her that first. I don't want want to speak for her, but she has done a great job.
Yeah. So prior to serving as president, you were involved obviously as treasurer, professional standards. Were you seeing a lot of emergence of the internet and the computer in the late '90s? And if so, kind of how did you deal with that on like an MLS side?
Well, we did. When was it that Al Gore invented the internet? It was that was in the early '90s, wasn't it? Or
something
late
like
80s?
that, yeah.
But he anyway. We saw when I was in Raleigh as an agent in the late '70s, early '80s. We saw the MLS book go away. And what replaced it was a company called PRC. And it was basically a dumb computer.
Dumb terminal?
A dumb terminal, not even a computer, that you withdrew information from.
Okay.
And so, and I remember people in Raleigh said, well, there goes our business. We'll never be able to sell another house with the MLS book going away. And of course, now, fast forward to today, the rest is history. So yeah, I've seen a lot of change, and we, it's been great. It's been fantastic for us to be able to deliver on factual, if it's put in correctly, factual information to our clients, and for us to research and just to better serve our community, our clients, and just do a better job.
So the big thing, I think, to me, the big thing that stands out in your presidential year, or another big thing, you guys, during your year, I guess, you went on the foundation side to giving away homes. How did the home giveaway come about when you were around?
Well, actually, that started with David Barnhart.
Okay.
And we were having a board meeting, and he said, "Why don't we just give away a home?" And everybody looked at him like, blew him off like he was crazy. And but that crazy statement that he made evolved into where we are today. And so don't belittle crazy people or crazy statements. David's a little bit crazy, and we played in a band together, so I know from personal experience.
Nice.
He's a great guy.
So where were you on 9/11 when it happened? You were president. Do you remember where you were when the Twin Towers were attacked?
Yes. I was at my office at the time on Sharon Road. Merrill Lynch had been purchased by Prudential. We were Prudential Real Estate at the time, getting ready to start a sales meeting. And someone came in and brought it to our attention. They were listening on the radio, or maybe they had a TV squirreled away back in the relocation department. They were upstairs. Should have been working, not looking at TV. But anyway, I'm glad they were. But that's where I was. I was getting ready to start my sales meeting for that week, and I mean, the reaction was so mixed. Shock, awe, few people running up and down the hall, crying, openly weeping. One of them said, "Just the world's coming to an end. The world's coming to an end." And I mean, it was a wide range of emotions, and so needless to say, we canceled our tour that morning. We discussed some things about what had happened. I was trying to get a handle on myself as far as what was going on, but also tried to project a calmness that the world is not coming to an end. We don't know what's going to happen, and then of course the Pentagon was hit, and then later on, there was a rumor that the White House was the next target, and that was when I think it's Flight 93 crashed into the farmland of Pennsylvania because the passengers wouldn't allow it to happen.
So if the day 9/11 happened, we were 2 days away from the annual fish fry.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What was the thinking between? Was there a question of whether we should still get together? Should we hold off? Do you remember those times?
Oh, absolutely. I remember it like it was yesterday.
What kind of went through what were you thinking?
Well, I had arguments on mostly on people wanting to cancel it. They said, look, let's just don't do it. The fish fry was on Thursday afternoon. Some said no, we need to do it. My thought was, we've got to start back sometime, and we need to be together as a realtor family, and also as just be around people, because pretty much for that 2 days, people were still wandering around, not knowing what to do. And quite frankly, I didn't exactly know what to do myself, but I knew, or it felt strongly, that we needed to be together. And so I said, we're going to go ahead with the fish fry. It's going to be an abbreviated version, but we're going to have that fish fry. And believe it or not, we had a great turnout. And we had most of the candidates that were running for political office, most of them came and talked. Of course, they talked about what had happened. That's what I did. I tried to I explained why that went ahead with it, and because of what I just said, I felt like we really needed to be together, and
it was almost a way to process for
exactly,
people that couldn't,
exactly.
that were still in shock and still didn't know what to do or how to feel about it. It was a way, number one, for people that needed to grieve, they could grieve with those people that wanted to grieve. People that were still trying to process it, it was a way for them to process it. Okay.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think it was being around people and seeing that, hey, I'm not the only one that feels this way. I mean, look at all these people around. I mean, so many of them feel the same way.
Do you feel like, we always hear the term thrown around here when a certain president becomes president or leaders, we always say it's the right place, the right time.
Yeah.
Do you think you were the right president at the right time with, some of your, being a veteran, particularly when that type of situation happens? It's like once in a lifetime. And do you think it helped that you were a veteran that had that type of leadership, that people looked to you, that kind of knew that you might know the right thing to say and the right way to lead, and they maybe followed you a little bit and based on the experiences you went through? Do you think that helped? Do you think you were the right person at the right time based on that?
Well, I haven't given that a whole lot of thought, to be honest with you. But I think I probably was and didn't realize it. And the reason is because you're talking about my military service. When I was in Vietnam, and I was a door gunner on a helicopter. And when you get into hot situations as a door gunner on a Huey, you don't get a chance to run. You're in that helicopter, and whatever, not that I would run anyway, but even if I thought about, ducking or getting it, you're at the mercy of the pilot and the co-pilot. Mm-hmm. And the crew. I mean, the crew chief on one side and me on the other, and doing what I was supposed to do. But so that was, and I went into the service right out of after I finished high school. I knew I didn't want to go to college right then. So I was only 18 years old when I was in Vietnam, and when I was, so I grew up pretty fast from that regard. And looking back on it, I guess maybe maybe it did have something to do with it. Maybe that whole era, maybe that whole experience had something to do with it. But anyway, I've always tried to face things and approach things right away. I don't like to put them on the back burner. I probably don't think about. I probably don't give things enough time to work themselves out. I try to. I'm better at it as I became more and more involved in leadership. But I used to. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction, but it was a reaction. It was a pretty quick reaction.
Hey, trusting you gut with Anne Marie worked out. It worked out
Yeah,
for 20 years.
exactly.
So far.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's your, looking back, what's one of your favorite memories as being in leadership, maybe being president? What's one of your favorite memories as a realtor?
Wow, there's so many. But I guess really and truly, being president, if you want to tie it down to that 1 year, hiring Anne Marie, we started the study on the governance. I can't remember how many years. I think it had been since like 1963 or something crazy, that the governance issue had never been changed. And I got Tommy Lawing, who's great at things like that. He agreed to head that up. He chaired the governance task force, and it went on for a couple of years. But in my presidency is when it started, and thanks to Tommy, and it was carried on through Bill Mathers, and then I can't remember who followed Bill. It was either David Barnhart or Tony Smith, I believe. But anyway.
So in that MLS task force, history tells us it was like 10 or 11 past presidents. How did that come about? Was it you trying to get everybody together? Tommy, how did we get all those folks back in on one task force to agree to do everything?
Well, I'll give all the credit to Tommy on that one. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't really going out looking for things to change or do, mm-hmm. but I realized that was an issue. But Tommy Lawing, I give all the credit to him, and quite frankly, Alan Tate was involved in that too. I mean, I don't think he got involved in a lot of things, but except for his own company. I mean, now, don't get me wrong, he was involved in a lot of things, but he really got involved in the governance, and he was on that. He served on that committee like a true champ, and contributed quite a bit.
So, what advice would you give realtors today? Looking back on your career and how it's changed, some of the challenges you've been on, what advice would you give us as realtors in today's business? What would you advise us? What kind of things would you want us to be mindful of when it comes to the real estate industry?
Wow, if you're getting into the business solely for the purpose of making a lot of money, you better be better than exceptional, or don't do it. If you will make, and it's a wonderful business. It's been great to me. But I'm talking about somebody brand new getting in. A lot of people think, well, in a market, whatever the market is, if it's a good market or a bad market, they can justify for the reasons to get in the market. And so I think a lot of people think that, you get your real estate license, you go to MLS training, you join the board, and you put people, in the car, you show them a couple houses, and then you just make trips back and forth to the bank, making your deposits of your commissions. It doesn't work like that, not at all. And you better believe in the fact that it's all service business, and you better care about the people that you're servicing or you're working with. Because if you truly don't care about helping people, you're going to have a miserable career. And I know people that are still in the business, but they're miserable. I think they were trust fund babies or something. I don't know. Maybe that's how they stated it. I don't know.
That is a walk-on.